Today we're diving into a question that every person with locks has wondered at some point. Can your locks actually get moldy? And if so, how long does it take before it starts growing in your locks? Now, most people believe that if you keep your locks clean, then mold is a non-issue. You wash it, you dry it, and you're basically set to go. But the truth is that mold can grow in locks even when you think that you're doing everything right. I've had my locks now for over 7 years, and while I've actually never had mold in mine, the fear of it has always crossed my mind, and I've had a few close calls. So I have researched it and learned exactly what causes it, and more importantly, how to prevent it. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly how mold forms, how it grows, how to prevent it, and how to get rid of it if you think you have mold in your locks. Hey guys, welcome back to the Dreadlock Culture channel. My name is Nadia, and in today's video, we are breaking down the issue of mold in locks. So let's get right into it. Mold is a type of fungus that thrives in dark, warm, and moist environments. And when your locks don't dry completely, then they can create that environment in the very center of your locks. The thing that makes our locks especially vulnerable in comparison to loose natural hair is that inside our locks, it can trap things like dead skin cells and product buildup, whereas in loose natural hair, that doesn't happen. And the other thing is that loose natural hair dries very quickly in comparison to locks. So without that proper airflow, you're not just trapping in moisture, but you're also trapping in bacteria and dead skin cells, product buildup, etc. Mold spores are literally everywhere in the air, but they don't activate until they find three things. The first is moisture, the second is a food source, and the third is time. Mold acts as a decomposer, so it takes any organic matter and it turns it into a source of food. So for instance, in your locks, that food source would be considered any trapped oils, dead skin cells, product buildup and residue, any leftover shampoo that you haven't washed out properly, and finally, wax and thick gels that you put into your locks that are actually not water soluble. This is actually the biggest culprit to mold growth because the wax acts as a sealant, essentially, and it traps anything that goes into your locks. So it attracts dirt, bacteria, other products, and it traps them all inside of the lock. Therefore, it doesn't allow for that proper airflow, and that sealant provides a moisture environment for the mold to thrive on. Wax doesn't just contribute to product buildup, but more importantly, it contributes to the growth of mold. And the last thing that mold needs to thrive is time. And so with respect to our locks, if our locks remain damp for anywhere between 24 to 48 hours, then it creates that environment for it to grow. The first red flag of mold growth in your locks is going to be the smell. They might smell something like musty or slightly sour or kind of like a wet rag type of smell. If you just washed your locks and they don't smell like the shampoo you used, or after you're in the drying process and they start to smell like this, like an old rag, then that is your first warning. In another occasion, it could be if you're outside and it's raining and your locks get wet and you start to smell that musty smell, or if you're working out or sweating a lot and you start to smell that even though your locks are dry, then that's also a warning. A few other symptoms that might accompany the smell are a persistent itchy scalp that is not due to any actual scalp conditions or dandruff. You might also experience like a sticky or kind of like a squishy feeling like inside of the locks. Another thing you might see are little sections of your locks that have like a greenish or grayish discoloration, and this is typically on the inner part of the lock. So if it's in say in this like little section and you kind of start peeking in there and see that there's some discoloration, the first thing you can do is just kind of like squish it and smell your fingers, or just smell your lock and see, does it smell bad? Yes or no. If it does, it's likely to be mold. If it doesn't smell bad, but you're like doing, you're scratching it like this and it's kind of powdery, that could be product buildup. And so you just might want to do a lock detox for your product buildup. And if it doesn't seem to be coming off like that and you suspect it's lint, then the way that you determine whether it's lint or mold is by taking a crochet needle and just gently trying to remove a little bit of that. Lint is going to be little pieces of fiber and, cloth essentially. So you will see little clumps of that lint. If it's mold, then it's gonna be kind of like a powdery or a gooey texture. Finally, another thing to consider is that mold can affect our health and physical well-being as well. So if you're starting to notice certain symptoms like allergy symptoms of, sneezing, coughing, or watery eyes or something like that, alongside of these other symptoms that I just mentioned, then maybe that's something to look further into. Because at the end of the day, if the mold develops in your locks, then it can affect your health as well. So now let's discuss a few of the prevention tips. I believe that prevention is better than the cure. So the way that I've kept my locks mold-free for all of these years are by following a few strict principles. Number one is to wash your locks as early in the day as you possibly can. This is going to allow your locks to air dry and fully dry by the end of the day. Typically, my locks will dry in about 8 hours, but there's, times depending on the weather where it can take a little bit less time or a little bit more time. So in order to allow enough time and flexibility, I always recommend washing your locks at least before noon, and then making sure that before bed, they're completely dry. The second thing I recommend is to use a lint-free microfiber towel to dry your locks. I will link one in the description that I use. It's a very thin towel, but it'll surprise you how much water it can absorb. And anyway, it's just incredible for locks. I've only used microfiber towels on my locks, and they're the best for absorbing large amounts of water. A third tip is for anybody who has thicker locks. If you do have thicker locks, then what you can do is either dry them in sections or take a lock individually, wrap the microfiber towel around it, and then start squeezing the water out from the root out, to the tips slowly. So that will allow a lot of that extra water to be absorbed by the towel, and then it helps reduce the drying time. If by mid-afternoon your locks haven't yet fully dried, then another tip I recommend is to use a hair dryer, either a regular blow dryer or a hooded blow dryer. And you want to use it kind of in the cool setting so that it doesn't cause heat damage on your hair. And yeah, just, blow dry again from the tip of the roots and work your way all the way down to the tips of your locks. And this is going to help to create some of that airflow through the locks so that the inner part gets fully dry. As a rule of thumb, I do not recommend that you style, cover, or sleep with wet locks. So on the day that you wash them, I recommend just letting them be. Do not put any headbands on. Do not tie them, because even in those sections, let's say that I wash my hair today and I decide to tie them here in the front. This section that is kind of clumped up together in that tie, even if it's just like a hair tie that's holding them like this, then that section is not going to have that airflow to dry, and the dampness can stay even in that one little section. So my recommendation is just let them be free for the day and let them just air dry naturally. And the following day, you can go back to tying them and styling them how you wish. If you followed all the steps, but by chance it's bedtime and you're not fully confident that they're dry, or you think that they might still be even slightly damp on the inside, then I recommend you don't sleep with the silk bonnet that night. Instead, use a silk pillowcase and let your hair loose that night so that it still has that final time to dry fully. If they're covered, that moisture is going to stay trapped inside the sleeping bonnet, and then that can also just not fully dry for the next day. And my last tip is to avoid any heavy products or waxes, gels, or anything of that sort. You want to be using the least amount of products on your locks as possible, and make sure that the products you use are water soluble. So for the most part, I stick to essential oils and distilled water, non-residue shampoos, and occasionally some oils for my scalp. But on the locks themselves, you don't really want to be using heavy oils or any wax or thick gels or nothing like that. As for lock-friendly shampoos, I recently made a video about that, so I will link it in the description below. And you will also find in that video a long list of shampoos that the lock community generally uses, so you can decide which one is the right one for you. And finally, I highly recommend that any product that you buy for your locks, that you are checking labels to make sure that it doesn't have any ingredients that cause residue or buildup in your locks. I also made a video recently about this, and I will link it in the description as well. And in that video, you can download a PDF of all the not so hidden ingredients that are actually causing damage to your locks and are toxic for your health. So check that out. And anytime that you go shopping for any new product or you're testing something out, make sure that you compare the ingredients list with this list that I'm going to give you, so that you can make sure there are no toxic ingredients in that product. Now, here's a quick little tip for summer. I know a lot of you guys love to take advantage of all the summer activities, and you can't enjoy a full summer without going to the ocean or the lake, the river, etc. So here are a few things I recommend that you do. The first thing is to soak your locks well before getting into any body of water. This is going to help your locks absorb just natural water instead of soaking up all the chlorine from a pool or the salt from the ocean. Then after swimming, you also want to rinse your locks well again, and this is going to remove maybe any extra stuff that was in the water and make sure that your locks are completely rinsed and clean. Another thing that you need to do is to make sure that your locks are dry before you go to bed every single time. So that could either mean going swimming in the earlier part of the day so that you're sure that by nighttime they're fully dry, or sitting in the sun after you've been in the water and allowing the sun to dry your hair as well, so then that can cut down on some of that drying time. If at all possible, give yourself a day between swimming to make sure that you're not getting your locks wet back to back. So for instance, one day you swim, then the following you don't, then the third day you can swim, and the fourth day you won't, etc. If you can't do that and you need to be in the water every single day, then I recommend you get a swimming cap to protect your locks. The swimming cap is going to protect most of it. It's not going to get all of the water out. So around the rim of your face and around the neck area, there's still a chance for the water to come in. I know this from experience when I was swimming a lot at the gym, but it does help a lot to prevent the bulk of your locks from getting wet. And this area, usually because the hair is, part of it is loose anyway, it's a lot easier for it to dry. You can buy extra large swimming caps on Amazon, and they're not the most comfortable things, but they do help a lot. If you think you have mold in your locks, then this is the way I would approach it to try and get rid of it. The first thing you're going to do is a lock detox. I have an entire blog dedicated to this, so I will leave that in the description for you to check out. But in essence, you're going to take a plastic bin, you're going to put some water in there, mix it with some baking soda, and you're going to soak your locks in that for about 20 minutes. I recommend that you take your locks and you squish them, squeeze them, kind of get the baking soda solution really into the inner part of the lock. This is going to neutralize the smell, and it's going to help remove some of that mold. The second thing, after you've done that for 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to dump that water and refill your bin with water and apple cider vinegar. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to soak your locks in there, squish and squeeze, and make sure that the solution is getting really into your locks, and let them rest there for 20 to 30 minutes. Finally, you're going to rinse your locks off completely and then wash them with a clarifying shampoo. This is going to help to remove any of that extra stuff, hopefully all of the mold that's probably present in there, and just clean your locks completely. Finally, you're going to take a microfiber towel and dry your locks thoroughly. And if possible, go out into the sun and let the sun help you air dry them so that it cuts down on your drying time. If by chance the smell persists or you still suspect there could be mold still stuck in there, then do another lock detox the following week. This could cause some of your locks to slightly detangle or just soften a little bit, but it's the risk you have to take, if you want to get rid of that mold. If that's still not helping and your situation seems to be kind of extreme, then removal might be necessary, but this is kind of like a last resort thing. So my recommendation would be to contact a professional loctician and have them take a look at your locks and see if there's any way that they can save them for you. So in closing, yes, locks can get moldy, but now you know exactly what causes it, what signs to look out for, and more importantly, how to prevent it. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any lock questions, then please leave them for me in the comments. I post videos every weekend, so I will see you in the next one. And I'm wishing you a beautiful week ahead. And as always, keep rocking your locks.